Now, the worst enemy of the church, uh, in most cases, was the Byzantine emperors. There were some very good at Byzantine emperors. Um, Now, again, these people weren't perfect, but there were some uh, very bad ones. There were very bad bishops. How many times have bishops been total heretics? How many times has most of the world's bishops fallen into a anathemized heresy? Uh, but when it comes down to Hypatia, and I'll put in the description box eventually a link to the video that I made. It might be on um, yusefaltahir with an E and run together as just one word channel, or it could be on the old Johnthehutdweller channel. But what it comes down to is I simply don't think she existed. Which I can understand when Christians believe she existed or try to make a case for her existence. But anyone who doesn't think that the Gospels, or let's say that we have the Gospels that were in the first century, that we have them, and that or that there's any mythicists out there, accepting Hypatia is excessively hard. We get mentions of her existence spanning something like 175 years. And the real horrible accounts come later, and then apparently she was married and died of old age, and all this kind of weird stuff. It's all in the video. I forgot it because I actually went in depth and just started, going at it and researching it because I was so sick and tired of. It was because of Agora or Agora, however you want to call it, that movie that was just sickening. The Byzantine emperors wanted uniformity, and many times the Byzantine emperors saw their form of what they wanted to be Christianity as a political party. And if you disagreed with the religion that they held at the time, it was basically, they saw it as treason, which is not Christian, and which the church was against, and the church preached against. One of the greatest men, most honored men in the Eastern Orthodox Church, John Chrysostom, called the Empress a whore to her face during a sermon in front of everyone. I think was it in Hagia Sophia? It was in some huge church. He called her a whore. He got exiled 7 times. He actually wound up dying in exile. A much beloved man by almost every Christian, Athanasius of Alexandria. After Nicaea, there was a period called Athanasius Contra Mundo, because everybody just reverted to not paganism, reverted to Arianism. And yeah, Theodosius was harsh, but he came on the heels of Julian the Apostate, and then said, screw it, Christianity is the official religion. Before, it wasn't. From the time of Constantine onward, Christianity was just tolerated. The Edict of Milan was the toleration of the Christians, that they weren't going to be persecuted anymore. It wasn't imposing Christianity on anyone. And there were many different kinds. And the Arians actually flourished within the empire. It wasn't until much later that there's emperors that were basically saw, well, Rome, we are fighting to civilize. And now they said, well, we're conquering to bring the word of Christ. No, there is no proselytizing. And I have to also do a video on that, on the difference between proselytizing and evangelizing. You don't threaten people with hell or with physical harm or with spiritual damnation to get them to come to Christianity. It's by your own good works and your own kind words that they would see the light within you and inquire and choose. And that has to be their own personal, their own decision, right? If we're talking about converts. But I mean, by the fifth and sixth centuries, or no, yeah, 5th and 6th centuries, we see religion being used as basically a political party. Let's say the Nestorians were libertarians, the Monophysites were Democrats, the Chalcedonians were Republicans, the Persians were Persians were communists, or let's say the Nestorians were, I don't know, Democrats. So they, the Persians kind of accepted them. Oh, you're part of a you're part of a Christianity that is disliked by Constantinople, even though their head leader guy, Nestorius, was the patriarch of Constantinople at one point. Okay, we like you because you don't like them, or at least they don't like you. And then you have the Monophysite split, and there was that. I mean, look at what happened after 1054. Basically the West sanctioned. Oh, you can those Christians in the East. Well, they're not following the Pope of Rome, so how can we count them as Christian? They're heathen. They're amongst the Muslim. Go get them. So it's these aren't these aren't orders coming from the church. And remember, if a bishop commands war to be brought on people, that's one bishop. Even if a patriarch does it, it still doesn't matter. That's not what the church teaches. He's going against the teaching of the church. Just as if he spouted heresy or embraced polytheism. I mean, you've seen me on my channels. I actively speak out against bishops that are in charge today. Patriarchs even. Because the church is not the patriarchs. The church is the people living who are upholding the faith pure. Not adding and not taking away. That's what the church is, the ecclesia, the assembly. It's people use the term church as if meaning the bureaucracy. That's not what it is. But I simply don't believe Hypatia existed, and my argument is in another video. I'll put some, just for now, I'll put some keywords to search for it, that video, but after I find it, I will put the link to it in the description box below. But for right now, I'll put keywords to search for it. And I might even find it. Alright, take it easy, peace to you. I gotta save Serbia, Syria, and Ireland. Please pray for the Copts and the Syriacs. But I simply don't think Hypatia existed. Alright, take it easy. And not to mention, the killing of her would have been an account of her being killed would be a good act of propaganda for the time. I mean, in between the after the Theodosian period up until the Islamic conquest, that would be great propaganda. It would have fear in there, and it would have some type of tie to the state or something. Like these were people taking it into their own hands to do the will of God, which just happened to be the will of the state as well. You read the Gospels in the New Testament, Christianity wasn't supposed to be bound to the state. The early Christian emperors had it right. Christianity wasn't the official religion. But I can understand why Theodosius, after Julian the Apostate, said, no more of this, no more of this. This can't be tolerated. We've had too many persecutions in the past. We're not going to let, another Diocletian arise or Nero. All right, take it easy.